Today we're going to be talking about the wind and waves obeying Jesus, and it's found in Matthew 8:23 to 27, and we're going to start by reading verses 23 to 25. Now when he got into a boat, his disciples followed him, and suddenly a great tempest arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered with waves, but he was asleep. Then his disciples came to him and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." So Jesus goes with his disciples into a boat, as it says in 23. And when they were in the boat, a storm comes, and they see that there is great trials that are coming, great waves, great troubles. It says a great tempest arose on the sea. So there is a big storm coming. You can see the big clouds that are forming, the dark clouds. And the waves are splashing against the boat because it says that the boat was covered with the waves. So it wasn't just a little bit of shaking or anything like that. It was massive waves that were crashing into the boat and filling up the boat itself. So the disciples were getting soaked with water when the waves were coming in. So they were obviously very scared. But Jesus here, while this was all going on, he was asleep in the boat. And the disciples, we see in verse 25, it says that they came to him and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." So it's good that they ran to Jesus to get salvation or saving their life in this case here. They're saying that they want saving from this great trial that is coming into their life, the great storm. And they were panicking. So they say, "Jesus, save us. We're going to die. We are about to die." And in verse 26 to 27, it says, "But he said to them, 'Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?' Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, 'Who can this be, that even the winds and the sea obey him?'" So we see that Jesus rebukes, he says he rebukes the disciples first. That was his first response, is to rebuke the disciples, because he said, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" So he says, what are you fearing? What is there to be panicked about? Because the storm is under my control. And he says, you don't have faith. You don't have faith in God that he will deliver you from this trial, and you don't have faith in me because you just want saving, because you want a comfortable life. You want this good and simple thing is what he's saying, that you just want me to stop this storm. You don't want who I am and what I have to offer eternally, showed by their lack of faith at this moment. And he says, then it says that he arose and rebuked the storm. So he just spoke, and the winds and the waves obeyed. That they were stopped, and there was no more great storm. And it went from a great storm to great calm. So there's a big transformation from without God, without Jesus calming the storm, what happens, to what happens after Jesus calms the storm. So there's a big difference between that. And they still didn't get what Jesus was trying to teach them here. And it says, "Who can this be, that even the winds and waves obey him?" So they knew that God is the only one that can control the weather and the whole universe. But they say, who is this that controls it? They knew it was God that can do it, but they didn't believe, and they didn't know at this time that Jesus really was the Messiah, the Son of God, that came to die for them. So they were still doubting here. And a lot of times we are like the disciples. We run to God when there's difficulties because we want a comfortable life, or we want this or that, or a bunch of other things. And we don't really have faith, first of all, that he's in control of that difficulty, and second, that he really can stop it, and whenever he wants. So we need to trust God when trials come, and know that he is in control. He is literally in control of everything. And he's not going to let anything happen that he does not will to happen. He's going to bring what he wills to pass. Even the difficult things are under his control. And he has a purpose for everything that comes to pass. And he will calm whatever it is, whatever the trial is, in his timing. If you pray and ask God to stop a certain trial from your life, he might not answer and say yes right away. He might say, wait. He might say no, because there might be something better for you to learn through this trial, because trials are brought along to build up our faith. And it's not just going to go away because you pray one time. It may. God's always answering you, but his answer might be no, and his answer might be wait. And you need to trust him if the answer is wait, as well as if the answer is yes. When you think that God is sleeping, remember that he is not ever sleeping. Jesus was sleeping in the boat, and the disciples panicked. But a lot of times Christians can think, oh, God doesn't really want to hear my prayers, or he's not answering me right now. No, he's definitely listening to you. He's always listening to you. He hears everything. He sees everything, and he's in control of everything. He knows exactly what you're going to ask before you ask it, but he tells you to ask him because your prayers is what he ordains to bring about change in this life that he is, according to his plan, using human means to bring about what he wants. And he uses prayers to bring about answers, that he is going to answer your prayers because he is not in the business of hurting his children, but he is in the business of helping us become holier and to understand him more, to be more like him. And that needs trials. If we never had trials, we would never be strong. We would never prove that we were growing and that we were in the faith. And trials are used for that reason. And we need to run to God even when it feels like he's silent, because he is listening, but you might not be seeing in his word what his direction is, or he might be saying, wait, not right now, by appearingly silence, but it's never silence. We just need to read his word and look for the answer. Even in the good and the bad, we need to run to God, because the disciples only ran to Jesus here in the bad times, and we should be relying on God at all times, whether it's the good or the bad. I heard it said that the Bible isn't cake for special occasions, but it's bread for daily living, or something to that effect, that we should be having personal time with God every single day, whether it's a good time, whether it's a bad time, no matter what it is. Whether you're busy or you have tons of free time, you need to be spending time with God. And when we have more time, we need to be spending more time with God, but never neglecting it. And we also need to remember that Jesus doesn't just calm storms. He just doesn't just calm trials. He also calms our hearts and saves us, because we have a great storm. Before we became Christians, before we received Christ as our Savior, we have a great trial, a great storm going on in our heart, that we have sin that needs to be removed. It needs calmed, and it needs to be taken care of. And Jesus is the only one that can calm that. He is the only one that can remove that sin and give us his righteousness through faith. And we need to remember that and come to him boldly in prayer and into his word and church, and to keep that in mind throughout the day, that we should be praying without ceasing.